Well, good day, and welcome to another edition or episode of Lanark County Confidential. I hope that went through it again. You figured out for 18 episodes, I'd be able to figure that one out, but some things are just beyond our mechanical abilities, I guess. So, anyways, episode 18. This episode is going to be called Tournament Tactics, and something that I enjoy doing, and I think I'm not bad at anyways. We've won a few tournaments and did Team of the Year in a local club there a few years ago. And the competition was, even though it was a few teams, there's still some good competition there. These guys, I guess if you ask them, would say they're good anglers. So if I had to rate myself against some other anglers, I'd say, they're good anglers, and I must be a good angler too. So anyhow, it's not all about egos or anything like that. It's about your abilities more than anything. So anyways, episode 18, Tournament Tactics. What's this all about? Lanark County Confidential comes to you on WRVO Radio Network, a division of Reno Viola Outdoors. You can find it on Reno Viola Outdoors and other various venues. Go to Reno's website. Go to his Facebook page, Reno Viola, VIOLLV. Anyways, you can find it on the internet, guys. And if you're listening to me, you're probably listening to it on his radio network anyway. So you're there. Listen to all the shows because there's a lot of good stuff out there. I really get a kick out of George, and I get a kick out of them. It's funny. The guys down I think he's California there. Gus Gruff. Anyways, those guys are funny to listen to as well. And it's nice because you've got a whole range, not just from this area, or you've got Ben Wu, you've got Mike and Scott. Their BS sessions, those are funny to listen to as well. So there's a lot of stuff out there. It's a really good concept, and he's doing a great job on it, and I'm proud to be part of it. So thanks again, Reno, for the opportunity. So anyways, tournament tactics. I like to do tournaments. Why? Because I just like to go. Obviously it's an ego thing. I'm not going to deny it. So, but what I like to do is it's sort of test yourself in the various conditions and the pressure that's out there, and it's also give your buddies a fucking party. Pardon me, I didn't mean to say that. It's also give your buddies a ribbon, or just a. That good-natured jokingness that we all do. So approaching a tournament, I remember when I first started doing it, it was just a matter of grab the map, and I'm talking back in 80 days, back in the pre-dawn era time. Back when bass fishing was just in its infancy and stuff like that. It probably was in its infancy up here because there weren't a lot of bass boats. It was in the early 80s, mid to late 80s. And there weren't a lot of bass boats, and there was just one series really. It's a couple of series up. So, but up in this area there wasn't really much. So, and basically it was, you fish this lake, you fish that lake, and you just grab the maps and figured it out, or just everybody fished shallow basically, and that was it. You saw what you could do. So graphs were okay, but they weren't to the standard that they are today. So you didn't have a lot of people venturing off of the community holes and stuff like that. So my first experience was just, find some bays and go throw top waters and worms all day long and see what you could do. Find some docks and bays. So basically that was it. It wasn't until I started fishing on my own that I started exploring the deeper water and stuff, and stayed away from some of the community holes and stuff like that. But, tried to find my own stuff. And in trying to find my own stuff, the process that this is sort of like the process that I do. This is the process as to approaching the pre-fish. I should say, sort of type thing. The first thing I would do back then was the only thing you had is the map. So let's forget about back then. Let's look at at today. And I'm looking at it today. So I'm looking at, I'll give you a perfect example of it when I went to do the first B1 that Ben and Mike Boudreau put on. Ben Wu, Mike Boudreau. I like the concept. I like the concept of just a 2-day event. You go in and, and it was small. Apparently they had big smallies there and big largemouth as well too. And I'd never fished the water. And excuse me. I'm sort of a fan of fishing areas that I've never fished before. It's just, I sort of like, I just sort of like fishing that type of event. So what happened was I bought the maps for the area, and I sat down for the next 3 months basically and went over them and started finding areas that I thought would be pretty how can I put this without giving it away too much? I looked for areas that had certain specific things that I wanted. Okay, let's back it up a bit. My pre-fishing in the past, like I say, was just sort of, you go out and you throw the bait out there and you look for fish and you catch a few fish and you go, okay, this is a good area. Let's find another area. Let's catch a few fish here and let's find another area, catch a few fish. And that's what we use for the tournament. We got a dock here, got another dock over there, something like that. And that was it. You had maybe 5 or 6 spots or 5 or 6 areas, and that was it. And you just hope that the fish were there and they were active and stuff. That works okay, but when you have a lot of prey, when you have 60 boats, that's not too bad. When you have 40 boats, that's easier. If you have 30 boats, it's even easier. But when you have 85, 100 boats, it's a bit more difficult. And when you have the amount of boats that they were going to have at the B1, which was about 150 boats, anyways. And here's the kicker too. There was going to be no pre-fish originally, and that's what I liked because it was everybody was basically on a level playing field. But then they got the ministry to open it up, and that caused a whole that just caused a whole big. Oh, geez, you guys, you shouldn't be able to. I mean, I was on one board and I took a ribbon or a shellacking, I could say, for forcing the ministry or, you bass guys, you bass tournament guys are once again getting your way and stuff like that and opening the season early. And this was from Muskie guys. I couldn't believe it. But anyways, so I took that tournament and I decided, okay, time of year, water conditions, and water temperature and stuff like that. And I got all of this from reading a couple of books. One of them was Kevin Van Dam's Tournament Tactics. It's a very good book. If you guys want recommendation on something to read for doing tournaments and stuff, it's a very, very... He breaks it down into a concept of you pick areas... And it's probably not his. It was been developed over the years. But this is the book that I got it from was his, because I read a few and nobody just explained it as well as his book did. So, and I'm sort of a fan of the way he approaches his tournaments and stuff. And obviously he's been very successful. So, not saying I'm Kevin Van Dam, but MLS KVD. I see the comparison there, but I'm laughing here, okay? Where was I? So what he does is he takes the area, or he takes the map, and then he has 3 colored pens, and he marks 1 spawning areas, 1 wintering areas, and 1 summer flats areas. Okay, and a long time ago, a guy told me about smallmouth, and if they can get three things in one area, they'll stay there their whole life, and that area won't be very big. So, you take that same concept and you apply it to the map. So I did that, and I marked my map, and I said, okay, what time of year we're fishing. So I'm only concerned with certain areas. So when you scale it down to the point where, okay, well, I don't care about that area, I don't care about that area, then you're limiting yourself to certain key areas. And then I read a few articles on finding bigger fish and stuff like that. And, I heard all the stories about, the area and Two Mountains and how big the smallmouth there and how big the fish had to be, and basically how much you figured that you're going to have as day one and day two and stuff like that. And I figured, well, if we could get 16, 17 pounds a day, we could do well. Okay. Guys were saying, oh, no, you're going to have to get, 20, 22 pounds a day and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, it depends on the time. It depends on what the water temperature is, because basically the conditions, I'm trying to remember what the conditions were, but it was, there's something that was not right. I think it was incredibly still cold or something like that. But anyways, so what I did was I took my map, I sat down, and for 3 months I went over it, and I went over it, and I went over it, sometimes on a daily basis, just for 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time. I'd sit there and I'd have it in front of me when I was eating. Another reason was just so I would get familiar with the area. Because when you're in a new area, you have to learn it pretty quick. So, if you recognize, okay, well, we have this island, or we have that, type of structure, or you have that landmark, then you recognize it, and when you get there, it's oh, okay, I remember that on the map. So you can sort of position yourself and coordinate yourself as to where you are, and at that point you familiarize yourself with the area a lot quicker than just going out and running around and then picking the map up and going, oh, well, okay, here I am, or trying to find yourself. Because trust me, I've done that in the past. Charleston Lake, I was lost for almost half a day out there. And then I went out with GPS and a map, and it made a whole big difference. There's still one area I still haven't found, and we just drove around. So it was, like I said, there's still one area I still to this day haven't found, and that Charleston Lake adventure was 1998, I believe. So anyhow, so when we did the first B1 event, I had an expectation of getting 15, 16 pounds, something like that, and qualifying for the second day, and hopefully just getting my money back. That's basically all I really wanted to do, was just make our money back, and that was it. So, and the way they based it, if you could get in the top, I think 25 or something like that, which wasn't too unrealistic when I was looking at the other guys on the list. I mean, you have to have a certain amount of confidence to go in these tournaments to begin with anyway. Some people call it arrogance. I don't care what you want to call it. It's egotism, whatever you want to call it. But confidence, there's confidence, and then there's ego. Okay, ego is someone with no. They're just full of hot air. Confidence is, there's guys that obviously, if you want an example of confidence, Kevin Van Dam is a good example of confidence. Watch Major League Fishing, and if you look at it, he's got an X on his back every time he goes out, and there are certain tournaments that everybody has fished that that hey, this guy's fishing it, so good chance I may not. If you're not having a good day, you may not do too well. So, in that respect, your preparation leads a lot to how you look at how you're going to do in the tournament. And by that I mean, if you prepare well and you have not a great pre-fish, but a great pre-fish would be good, but sometimes that could be misleading. But what I'm saying is a good pre-fish. Then you can go into the tournament and you can have a certain amount of confidence to say, okay, we expect to do here. If things go well, hey, you never know what'll happen. So at that point, you can't. If a lot of tournament preparation, I look at it from an aspect of about 60, 30, 10. Okay, so 60% of the preparation is done off the water, 30% of the preparation is done on the water, and then the other 10% is done in your head. We might want to change that. 10% is done, on the water, 30% is done off the water, and 60% is done in your head, if you want to do it that way as well. So, but you got to look at it as there's a mental aspect to this as well, because you got to look at it as a game. If you don't look at it as a game, it'll tear you apart. That's the other aspect that I'm going to get into another podcast. Is I'm going to do about 3 different podcasts, I think, on tournament tactics, because the preparation beforehand is very important. Just as the day, the pre-fishing is important as well too. And then after the pre-fishing comes, you have your boat and your tackle preparation as well too. So that that boat and tackle preparation could take a one podcast, as well as, or maybe I'll just do it all in one. We'll see. It depends on how. I'm only going to do this. I'm going to keep this down to 30 minutes at this point. So we'll see what happens. But well, maybe we could just go into it. But it's just because I want to do it by example. So anyways, so we go into the first day of this Berkeley B1 event. We're not even at the B1. We're at the B1. Let's back it all up again. So I'm taking my map. I'm marking my map. I'm taking the time of year. This is all going to be no water. I'm taking the time of year, and then I'm trying to find as many articles on the internet as I can about that body of water as I can, because if I can find out information, time of year, specifics, water levels, stuff like that before I can go there, I'm more prepared. I'll be more at ease. I'll be, easier. It just mentally, it'll be easier for me and less stress to get through the weekend and find fish. Because basically, you want to take all the, you want to try and eliminate all the possibilities. And if you can eliminate all the possibilities, you can, you're more in control. You're more aware. When your awareness goes up, your ability to fish and find fish goes up. Your ability to detect bites goes up. So this all comes down to, it's almost like a Zen type state that you got to get into before you do this. And it's sort of you can look at it as an obsession or whatever, but I sort of started about a week before. Like the Sunday, I'm sitting down and I've got my list of things that I have to do that week, and which days they have to be done by, so that Friday or Thursday or whatever day we have to leave, I'm ready to go. When I get up, and because I'll tell you this right now, I've never. No, actually, I have a few times. I've never. Well, I shouldn't say never. A few times, just things come up at the last moment, and being a marine mechanic and trying to get boats ready for other competitors and trying to get boats ready for myself and stuff like that, it's difficult at times. So, there's always something that comes in the way. So it's you want to make your list. That's a big key thing, is make a list of things that you need to bring, clothes that you need to have, tackle that you need to, well, we're doing this preparation as far as trying to find the fish. So you look at it, okay, if it's this time of year, then I'm only going to use this style bait. If it's that time of year, I'm going to use that style bait, and so you can limit yourself to what you bring by the type of fish that you're fishing, be it smallmouth, largemouth. And, because if I'm fishing smallmouth, trust me, I'm not going to be taking 7'6" heavy flipping sticks with me. It just makes no sense. I may take a 7'6" rod with me, a flipping stick, but it'll be, a lighter action, a half ounce, something that I can throw a half ounce lure with and stuff like that. So, unless I'm fishing in deep current, but, pretty much I can go 3/4 of an ounce on a medium action rod. But you're going to be more geared towards, what fish you want to, what equipment you're going to use for that fish. So, when we did the B1, like I said, I didn't use too many, I didn't bring heavy flipping stuff. That may have been a mistake, I don't know. But being I was only targeting smallmouth because of the area, the vicinity, and I had no experience with the largemouth, and the guy that I was fishing with didn't have any experience with the largemouth. So what we ended up deciding was we were going to key on smallmouth. Now that ended up being a bit of a mistake, I think, because there's a pretty big largemouth waiting, I think, at one point. So, anyways, what happened in my preparation for that event is I decided there were certain areas that I just wasn't going to deal with, and I was going to, when we got there and did the pre-fish, I was just going to concentrate on one area, and it worked out pretty good. And well, it worked out well. So anyways, I've taken the map and I've decided where I want to go for my pre-fish. Now, during that pre-fish, what you do basically is, and this is what I do now rather than what I did in the past, is I use pretty much horizontal baits. I'm not using a vertical bait at all. Before, I used to just go out and throw my favorite lure, throw a tube or throw a ninja jig or something like that. So what I've been doing lately is I'm going out and I'm throwing horizontal baits. I'm throwing spinner baits, but I'm also throwing stuff that they generally don't see, because not only do I have a spinner bait, I've got this thing called a minnow, which is, it's like an underspin. It's like a jig head. It looks like a spinner bait, but only the spinner's underneath. So it's a variation of it, and it's nice because you can jig this thing, and it jigs a bit better than I find that it jigs a bit better than a spinner bait, because a spinner bait sometimes will hang up when you stall it and stuff like that. But excuse me. So what I'll do is, depending on the water, if I'm shallow, then I have to have some soft jerk baits. But even if I'm going for smallmouth, I'll have soft jerk bait. I have a hard jerk bait, top water, spinner bait. What I'm using now are Big Easies, a Gambler Big Easy, which is it's a friggin' awesome search bait as far as I'm concerned, because this thing's got weight to it. So on a just a plain 6/0, 7/0 hook with no weight on it, this thing will cast pretty far, 50 yards easily at least. So you can cover a lot of water. It's got weight to it so that when it drops into holes and stuff like that, it actually goes down, and you can sort of jig it and stuff like that. So and then it's got a paddle tail on it, so it looks like a buzzbait. It acts like a buzzbait and throws a lot of water as well. So it's pretty much my number one. I used to, Flap and Shad was the second one, so I'm both Gambler products, obviously. But the Flap and Shad with the cut tail, that in open water is just a killer. That in some rice and stuff like that, to me, that's just, you put a little, I've got these new plastic, weights, or not the, it's just a screw in, so it doesn't rip so the weeds don't rip the plastic off your hook easily. And because what I was just used to do is just use a 16th ounce gambler screw-in weight, and then that would give it a bit more weight to it, and you could throw it farther. And then what that does is, as it goes through the weeds and stuff like that, that noses down too, which is a bit more realistic. But anyways, either of those work, and then I'm using pop R's and jerk baits and stuff like that. So, and I got a couple crankbaits that I'm firing as well too. So, I'm covering every depth, but I'm covering it horizontally. Now, if I catch a fish or two, I'll mark the area. If they're good fish, then it starts to be a prime area type thing. If I catch a big fish, I'll just mark it big fish. Because sometimes I've started on areas on big fish, and we were lucky that day. But anyways, starting to get down here in time. So. Just to wrap it up, I guess here, or start to wrap it up. My preparation for it, just learning the water and figuring out the water and the time of year and the size of the fish that I'm going to catch or what I'm going to need to catch, is all based on the information that I pretty much can get from whatever sources I can. The maps I'll go to the local. We got Pathfinder in an area type thing. He does all my hydrographic maps, and that's what you want, is hydrographic map. The internet, you find out as much stuff as you can, past tournaments. One other tip that I was going to say here is I even called and emailed a guide in the area. Now, the guy, I just asked him, I said, listen, I don't want spots or anything like that, but all I want is just say yes or no to these questions. And I posed 4 questions to him, and he answered them, and that's all I needed, because that just told me what to expect. I didn't want his spots because the guy was competing against him, and he even said in his email, he says, I'm not going to give you any spots because you're competing against me, but I will tell you this. Another guy told me the conditions. We went back and forth. He said, well, I'll be out there competing, so if you see me, say hello and stuff like that. And I actually did meet up with him. It was funny because we were in the parking lot and pulled up right beside this boat, and we started talking to each other, and he mentioned this and he mentioned that, and I said, well, are you this? And he says, oh, yeah. I said, oh, well, I emailed you. He says, oh, so, and he says, well, you see, because he was telling me about the water and where to look for and stuff like that. And how it happened was he whacked his lower unit. And I'd seen his lower unit. So we started off on that. And he said, well, yeah, you were the guy that told me about the water levels and stuff like so. So it was pretty interesting. And it was neat because there's a lot of guys out there that will give you information and stuff. And that's what you're going to need. There's a bunch of guys out there who won't give you anything, but so what? Look for the guys that are willing to give out the information and take it what it's worth, But so there's just a few things that this is going to be 3 probably different podcasts because I'm at almost at 30 minutes right now, so I'll do it that way. Just to wrap up here, very, very important. If we look at the 60-30-10 aspect of it, then 60% of the time is spent on your map, figuring out the areas that you're going to take care of on your map. Mark as many areas as you can, because then you have a lineup to do the day you go out. And then the day you go out is where you eliminate all of those other areas that aren't very specific to you. So that to me is one of the key things that you can do. The internet is the best source to find stuff on. So that's your second bet. But be specific to the time of the year, and then find local guides and stuff like that if they're willing to talk to you and stuff. That's the other thing that you can do as well too. So it's there's a lot of things that we can do that you can find out information and stuff pre-tournament time. And, drive around to the local town. If you can get time to go to the area beforehand, drive around to the local tackle stores and talk to the guys there. And, but take that with a grain of salt, because trust me, a lot of it can just be smoke. So, these are just some of the things that this is not me thinking it up. I mean, I read this in a book. So, there's not, original thought is really, is it really original, or did somebody just think it up and it's rehashed? So, but anyhow, I hope this helps you guys. Once again, this is Lanark County Confidential coming to you on WRVO Radio Network, Reno Viola Outdoors, the most innovative fishing radio network there is today on the internet. So give it a listen. Hope you come back next week, guys. Give it a try if you're doing some tournaments. Remember, take a couple of days, look at that map, and figure out what you can from it. It's gonna help you in the long run. So I gotta get out of here. Got a lot to do. I want to go fishing today. So thanks a lot for listening. See you guys later.